So in this exercise, we're going to do some operations with policy managed databases. We've already created a policy managed database, and so I want to do some operations with it. So the first thing I want to do is look at what databases there's out there right now. So let's take a look at which database is out there. SRBCTL, big database. And we have a database called policy. Well, let's see if it's in fact admin managed or policy managed. SRB, sorry, BCTL, config database minus D policy. And lo and behold, it is a policy managed database. The policy is automatic, and the server pool that it's using right now is the server pool is called Paul pool. Let's get some information about that particular server pool, and the way you do that is run SRV CTL config SRV pool, and we see besides the generic and the free pool, we see Paul pool and its definition. So what we'd like to do at this point is look at the services associated with a policy managed database. So let's start with look at a particular instance. Show parameter service names, and we see policy, but that's really a misnomer. If we look at select name value from $SP parameter, where name is equal to service names, what do we see? We see the service name parameter exists, but it is null. So this is really just the default policy, or I'm sorry, the default service. So in fact, we can confirm that by looking at SRBCTL config service minus D of policy, and we don't see any, even though if we do ls_ctl status, we do see a policy, a service called policy, which is the default policy, and we can see it on both nodes. Let's do this ls_ctl status, and we see a policy. So this particular service is connected to policy_2, and this particular service is connected to policy_1, the instance policy_1. What I like to do next, though, is actually create some policies. I'm going to create, for policy managed databases, you have two choices. You can create what they call a uniform service, and so that will create the service that's on all the nodes, or a singleton service which will run on only one node. So let's go ahead and create those. Let's do SRBCTL add service D of policy minus S. Let's call the service called uniform minus G. We need to know what the server pool name is, but before we do that, let's do this RVCTL config database minus D of policy, and we see that the server pool is called Paul pool. So let's go ahead and create those services. So RVCTL add service minus D of policy minus S. Let's call the service called uniform minus G for Paul pool, and minus C. This is where we're going to create a uniform service. Let's go ahead and create SRBCTL add service minus D of policy minus S we're going to call this singleton service minus G of Paul pool minus C of singleton. Let's go ahead and start these services. SRBCTL start serve And let's get their statuses. SRV CTL, CTL status of service. Policy minus S of. Okay, so the uniform service runs on both nodes, but SRV VCTL status of service minus D of policy minus S of singleton. The singleton service runs on only one node at a time. So in this case, it's running on rack 1 node. And we can confirm that. Let's go ahead and run ls nrctl status. And we see the singleton policy along with the uniform policy. But over here in rack 2, we should see only we should only see the uniform policies. SRV ls nrctl status. And sure enough, that's what we see at the moment. So what I would like to show now is how singleton services transfer to other nodes when a database or an instance goes down. So let's run lsnrctl status on our database. And we see the singleton instance running on node 1, lsnrctl status. And we see it not run on node 2. So let's do a, let's sign in. We have to do an abort here. If we did just a normal shutdown with SRVCTL, the service does not transfer because that's like a normal shutdown. But if we do an abort, which is what I'm about to do here, we'll see that the service does transfer. So now let's do this. Okay, so exit. Let's do an lsnrctl status. And we see that that particular service now goes away. But if we do an lsnrctl status here, now we see the singleton service has popped up over here. So the last little activity I want to do with policy managed databases isn't unique to policy managed databases. It is unique to rack databases in general, and that is to play around with some sequences. On the Oracle exam, Oracle OCM exam, we were asked to create a sequence that has an order, and so there are certain options we need to consider with rack. If you're going to create a sequence and you want it ordered, then there are two things you need to consider: the cache and order options. You can either create a sequence with cache and order, in which case these sequences are in fact ordered, but there might be some gaps, or you can choose no cache and order, and that is probably the least desirable in terms of performance. So we'll need to consider what they want on the exam, but it'll be either cache and order or no cache and order. So let me show you some things I was doing here. First of all, I created a little script on both nodes, cat sequence as well. And so it just looks at the next val of the sequence and prints out the sequence. The first thing I have to do is actually create the sequence. So PSPCF rep for P1. That's this one is policy 1. So let's export create sequence Soleo. Start with 1 increment by 1. Do cache 20 order. And let's do at sequence. There's 1 there. And we get 2. Let's run that. Get 3. Get 4. Now let's exit. abort. The abort part is important. If we did a normal shutdown, our sequences would not have a gap. So now let's restart srvctl, start database, mysdb policy. Okay. So now we will have a gap of some number since it's cached and we lost those numbers. So let's take a look. What's going to happen? At and we're still going in order, but now we have a gap only because of this abort. And that's all I wanted to show for this particular this exercise.